Who's next?
Hey, how y'all doing? Back again with another episode of the It Factor Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Robinson, and today we have someone special. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Smith. I am a manager of player engagement at the NFL League office, where I'm responsible for helping NFL current players and former players with their personal and professional development.
I love that. I love it. So, how are you doing mentally, physically, and emotionally?
Yeah, I'm great, doing really well. You probably are aware, but I think about almost a month now, there was a shooting at our office. So, unfortunately, four lives were taken. The suspect ended up killing himself as well. So, five tragedies in that whole situation. And we're back to work in the office. So, it's been good to see, colleagues and just kind of get back into the swing of things. The season starts first week in September, so there's a lot of excitement around, the NFL season being underway soon, and really well. Always excited when I have a brother who plays for the Chiefs. Really excited when his season takes off. So a lot of good things that are happening.
Yeah, outside of that, I hate that happen, but
Yeah,
I'm thankful to see the forward of, positivity coming in, with all the things that are happening in the world,
yeah.
every week. So I'm just thankful that you're okay.
Thank
When I
you.
first seen those headlines, my wife said at first, she was like, "Don't you know somebody from?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, man." So I was like, "I got to reach out." So that's why I reached out as quick as I did, So
Thank you. I appreciate that. I
thank
definitely
you.
appreciate you doing it. And just having a number of people that reached out was just such a blessing to see, just the level of care and concern that people had for those of us that, work at that office. So really appreciate you and just grateful to God for his hand of protection as well.
God is good. God is good.
Yeah, all the time, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'll say, what's the most meaningful part of helping players not just perform, but become the best
Yeah.
versions of themselves?
Yeah, I would say I love when guys can explore other gifts and talents that they have that go beyond football. I think that, a lot of times these guys come from situations where all their lives they've been told, you know, your way out is to play football, and maybe football is a vehicle that they can use to obtain a level of, generational wealth. But I always encourage them, let's explore the gifts and talents. A lot of guys, when they retire from the NFL, they're in oftentimes their early 30s. And so there's so much more life that's ahead of them. So I think whenever guys can participate in programs that I'm putting on and can leave them saying, like, man, I never knew that I was really into fashion to where I would want to have my own line, or I never knew that I was really interested in broadcasting to where I would want to work for a company like an ESPN or Amazon. For me, that's always exciting and fulfilling to help guys have a sense of purpose as to who they are as people and passions, and not just the profession that they have.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think it's cool, like even interviewing the football players and get to see them after the game. Like, cool, like, don't get me wrong, big sports fan, played football. So it's like,
Yeah.
man, it's cool to see it, but it's cool to see that transition too. Or even while they're playing. That's the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever, man. To see somebody, you see them on a Sunday that they off, or you see them doing something in the fashion sense, or podcasting. That's been the
Yeah.
coolest thing because they're like, hey man, can you help me out? I'm like, you asking me for okay. So
Yeah.
stuff like that been cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that said something that stood out to me. What we're trying to do and the work that I'm doing is to help guys to see and explore other avenues
Yes,
that they can have to feel really just fulfilled. It doesn't have to be just wait until you hang up your cleats. It's
yes,
while you're still playing, while you
that's
have
it.
the NFL shield behind your name, while you have a level of fame and notoriety. Let's use the platform that you've been given to help you further walk into like your purpose and your calling, and not just waiting until, okay, I'm done and I'm kind of struggling to figure out my next or my sense of identity. It's like, nah, let's do it sooner rather than later.
I love that. I love that. And that's even I got a chance to interview Tate Davis. He played for
Okay.
the Carolina Panthers,
Yep.
New England. He played for not New England, but for the Giants
Yeah.
too. And, we were interviewing, and before we got there, he was like, "Hey, can we talk about mental health?" And we talked about it, and we had a good
That's
conversation.
awesome.
And the beautiful thing was, he's like, "Yeah, a lot has been going on in my career." But the coolest thing is to see that he was like, yeah, I gotta find me something else I want to do too. I
Yeah.
was happy to see that, and we still have our conversations and still text back and forth. And he's my boy now, man. So that's very
Yeah.
cool to see. So
That's
I
awesome.
love the work that you do. Even in
Thank you. Thank you.
so
Thank you.
it brought me to, I would say, what is your it factor? Why do you do what you do?
Oof, man, that's a great question. What is my it factor and why do I do what I do? I think I do what I do because it's very personal for me. I have a sibling who's out there playing, and I've had a chance to see those who have gone before him and who have struggled with leaving football and feeling like they've lost a sense of identity. And I know that at some point his career will come to an end. And so for me, and the love and care and concern that I have for him as a sister, that and I've looked at my career and have had a chance to work at the University of Tennessee, work at the NCAA, work, at the Kansas City Chiefs and now at the NFL League office. For me, I would say my it factor is being able to build relationships and to help people see their purpose and to have the courage to push past procrastination that's caused by fear
Mhm.
to walk into a whole dimension of who they are as both a person and as a professional. And so I think for me, anytime that I can help people just really explore their gifts and their talents and just live a fulfilled and well-rounded life, that gives me so much drive and encouragement. So I do what I do because of the heart and the love that I have for people.
Love that. I love that. And that's always gonna take you a long way. That's why I think, yes, outside of this, I'm a data analyst, but I tell people every time I get a question of, hey, why did you start this or you do this? I love to
Yeah.
help people.
Yeah.
I love to hear people's stories, and it's
Mhm.
so cool to bring people, families, friends, different people together. So it's very
Yeah.
cool. And I think that's why we on earth, to help as
Yeah,
many people as
absolutely.
we can.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Absolutely.
so I seen in a video and also in your bio that you had spoke of your late mom and Coach Summit being two of your
Yeah.
biggest influences.
Hmm.
I'll say, how do they values still come up today in the work you do and the life you lead?
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom was always my biggest cheerleader. She was, I would call her my dream incubator. When I would sit and just tell her about my goals and dreams in life, she always encouraged me to keep faith in God and to go for them and to know that with God, all things are possible. And so just the person that she was, the way in which she lived her life, being a woman of faith, really believing in my brother and I, making sacrifices alongside our father so that we would have opportunities in the life that we have today that still carries with me as someone who one day want to become a wife and a mother. I think there's so many life lessons that my mother taught me that I keep with me. Also, I'm a worship leader at a church, and my mom originally taught me how to sing. And so every time that I'm leading worship, I feel like that's a way that I'm honoring my mother's memory and continuing to carry on her legacy as using the gift of singing to honor the Lord. And then when it comes to Coach Summit, learned so many great lessons from her. And one of them I would say is that she always reminded me just the importance of being excellent in what you do, being kind to people that I come across, and just always treating people with respect. I'll never forget one day, I was in a conference room with some other managers. Something that we would do is that when coach had like basketballs, Wheaties boxes, and posters that would come into the office, we would set aside designated days where we would round up all those items and we would sit in the conference room and we would just pass them around and she would sign them. And so I just asked her, I said, Coach, what's one life lesson that you would want us to take away from having worked with you? And she said, always treat people with respect.
Mhm.
Whether you are dealing with the janitor of a company or the CEO of a company, treat people with respect. And so that is definitely a guiding principle that I use with every organization that I work in, and really and truly how I live my life. Just to treat people with respect.
Love that. I love that. That's amazing. I'll say, who's Ashley outside of all that you do, outside of sports, outside of being a great person you are, outside of the NFL, anything? Who are you?
Hmm, that's good. I am someone who I love life. I love getting to travel and getting to go to different places and exploring different cultures and cuisines and ways of life. I'm someone who I believe that with God, all things are possible. And so I'm a big dreamer and I have big goals and dreams for my life that I hope in due time they'll be revealed from me being about it versus just talking about it and people seeing the fruit that comes out of my life. And I'm someone who I want to see people win and just become all that God has created them to be and just to live a well-rounded and fulfilled life. I'm someone who I live in New York and I love it. I'm originally from Tennessee, so Southern Belle, you could say, but have come to fully embrace and love New York and what this city has to offer.
That's amazing. This man, New York is amazing. I've been
Yeah,
twice now, and I like it.
okay.
I
I
like it.
did too.
But I love the song. Don't get me wrong. I'm in Georgia now, but I love that song.
I get it. I get it.
Oh, so I say, my next question is, how is it working in the league office, and what's your day to day look like? Or you know what, weekly, because I know it changes. So how does that look?
Sure. Yeah, the league office is not for the weak,
Mhm.
being very honest. It's a fast-paced environment. It can be an intense environment. Um, but it's one where I've really enjoyed it. I love being able to see things from a 32 club perspective versus if I was just at one team, seeing it from that micro lens. I love seeing it from a macro perspective. And then what my week to week looks like, lots of emails, quite a few meetings, and kind of giving you perspective of as like the off season versus, in season. So in season, it's filled with a lot of meetings and planning toward off-season programs that I'm in charge of. And then in the off-season, it's a lot of travel and just implementing or executing those programs that I've planned out all year. Also, too, during the in season and the off season, I will travel to different teams and do a lot of public speaking and presenting and talking with them about NFL player engagement, what the department has to offer, resources for both, current players, former players, which we call legends, as well as their families. So looking at spouses, parents, all of a player's ecosystem. So spend a lot of time building relationships.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm a big football head, so definitely your job is cool. I'm gonna give you that. I say congratulations for being in this. Even looking
Thank
at your
you.
story, coming up from school to be working at your school to now being working for a team, working with your brother. That was cool. I know that was very cool. But then now
Yeah.
working at league office and help so many young men, and older men find their paths because I
Mhm.
know it's cool now to see the transition.
Yeah.
Like I have a cousin that's
Mhm.
in the league. He does his own type of things outside of it. But we had a cousin before that growing up, and I'm like, when football was over, it was like, dang, what's next? So it's
Yeah.
cool to see what you all are doing and implement. But I know it's cool to travel too. Like so, like what has been some of your most memorable moments?
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah. I would say the most memorable, um, one, I did a program last year with LVMH
Mhm.
where we brought a group of guys to their headquarters and they got a chance to really explore all facets of luxury lifestyle. So looking at everything from leather goods to fragrances to shoes to clothing, all of that, and meeting with some of the best and brightest minds in the fashion industry
Mhm.
and then have an opportunity to get some hands-on experience. And I had a number of guys that said, I've been in the league over a decade, and this has by far been one of the most impactful all-season programs that I've experienced since I've been in the league. So that definitely spoke volumes to me and meant a lot. And I would probably say the absolute biggest moments would be being in stadiums and watching my brother and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. I'll never forget when I worked at Tennessee, something that I did was I took a group of students, we called it the Big Orange Combine, but a colleague and I took a group of students to work the Super Bowl in Miami. And that was when the Chiefs and the 49ers were playing, and the Chiefs came back from
Mhm.
behind to beat the 49ers. And then fast forward to the first Super Bowl that my brother won. So my brother is getting ready. Well, he's currently in his fifth season with the Chiefs, but his second year, his second season with the team, they won the Super Bowl and they beat the 49ers.
Mhm.
And so it was just a full circle moment that here it was at the time he was a college student watching the Chiefs play, dreaming of one day winning a Super Bowl. And then fast forward, he's done it. And he did it against the team in which he saw the Chiefs beat to win their most recent Super Bowl prior to him joining the team. So yeah, anytime that I see my brother playing in the Super Bowl, he's been in three and has had a chance or has been blessed and fortunate to win two of the three. Those for sure are my most fond moments.
That's real cool. That's real cool. And
Yeah.
I say, speaking on your brother,
Mhm.
in many ways, you and your brother stepped into new sets in your careers at the same time. How is that? To be so blessed to say, okay, my brother played in the league, I work for the league office, but even outside of that, hey, we both are doing things we love to do. How is that?
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Mhm.
My brother and I are both from Jackson, Tennessee. It's a small city in Tennessee. It's like an hour from Memphis, two from Nashville. And I think oftentimes you hear of maybe one sibling that's gone on to do something with the NFL. But the fact that both of us are doing that, and I think even beyond, right? Because there's so much that's out there. I think it's one of those where I think the blessing in all of it is that my brother and I have an opportunity to live out our dreams,
Mhm.
which isn't something that everyone is afforded. And so I think that the blessing of that we've dealt with heartbreak and losing our mother. I was 24, my brother was 15. I think the fact that God has been so good to us where he enabled us to turn heartbreak into history. And that, even when I was at Tennessee and when I was an assistant AD for player relations and development, I was the youngest senior staffer for the Tennessee Athletics Department at the time. I was one of two Black women running player development. Now I'm at the league office. We're the only pair of siblings where one plays in the league, the other works for the league office. So I think that God just continues to bless us in ways where I hope and pray, and I know He does too, that people won't just look at our lives and be like, wow, that's so cool. But they'll say, hey, you know what? If the Smith siblings can do XYZ, I can do it too.
Yeah, definitely. And I know people are gonna see that. I
Yeah.
even thought about it, myself, my siblings. We lost our mom in 2022.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
it was right after I got married, and it was very, it's a lot. But
Yeah. It's
to
heartbreaking.
look, the crazy thing is how it brought us together, and to see that we all are doing well,
Yeah.
in our careers, but even outside our careers, we talk to each other,
Yeah.
and we pray for each other, and we push each other, and every time something happens, it's so cool, want to like share it. Like even the other night, like last night, I went to a Braves game with one of my friends I hadn't seen in a while. And I was like, "Dang, I can't wait to get home. I got to tell my brother because he loved the Braves." So
Yeah.
it's stuff like that that I'm thankful for, and I always every night I'm like, "Yeah, thank you, mom, for this."
Yeah.
So definitely understand, and I just take heed to family now.
Yeah. For sure.
So I say, if there's any advice you could give to people and ladies in general, that would love to be in your shoes someday, what would they be?
Yeah. I would say one, dream big
Hmm.
and don't allow anyone to tell you what you can and can't do. Two, put God first and seek Him for His wisdom and guidance and His favor because, with God, all things are possible.
Hmm.
And three, I would say don't stop until you get to where you want to go. I look at my career and I think it's easy for people to look and be like, oh, was, she was a manager for the Lady Vols basketball program and she was with Pat Summitt, or she worked for the NCAA, or she worked for Tennessee football, she's worked for the Chiefs, the NFL, and be like, oh my gosh, but like there were a lot of peaks and valleys in those experiences. There were a lot of times where people told me, Huh? You want to get to the NFL? Not going to happen. There were times where people said, "Oh, you want to be an assistant AD for Tennessee football?" Yeah, good luck. All these things where there were people who, doubted me and, have had a chance to prove the doubters wrong. But more importantly, I've had a chance to prove to myself that I can. And so I would just say, know who's in your corner, um, and just lean into the people that are supportive of you and keep going. And I would say for women specifically, times are changing. There was once a time where women weren't really in the league and it was really tough to, advance. And don't get me wrong, it still is tough to advance to some degrees. I think depending on the department, your manager, things of that nature. But I would tell women that if I can do it, you can do it too. If all the women you see, whether they're coaching on the business side, on the football side, whatever the case may be, why not you? And so I just encourage women to just go for it. As Nike would say, just do it.
Yes, indeed. Just do it. I love it. That's the greatest slogan. That's one of the
It
greatest
is.
slogans.
Yeah, they killed it with that. Sometimes
Outside
I'm
of
like,
mine, changing the narrative, but
okay.
I love that. I'll say, and also before we do close, I got a few more questions. I'll say,
Yeah.
why is it important to help others?
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you asked me this question because the other day was thinking about Coach Summitt and really thinking about who I want to be as a leader. And the thing that I think it's so important to lift others as we rise. It's one thing to have our own level of success, but if there's no, like, take Coach Summit, and I look at, she has people who are former managers, former players, former coaches, and the reach is all over the world, really and truly, of the seeds that she planted and how those people are going out and being able to impact the world. And so I think that it's one thing to have your own level of success, but it's a whole nother thing when you can look and see how you played a hand in helping someone else and how you've taught them to, hey, pass it along. And I think especially as a woman of color in doing that, I hope and pray that it'll open up doors for more people who look like me, to have a successful career in sport and football and life in general. And so I think, you know, I just think that it's just so much more rewarding and fulfilling when you can help others
Mhm.
versus being so selfish and focused on just yourself.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I love that because I love to help others, like I said before we started. And
Yeah.
it's cool how you even brought up Coach Summitt because it's the right time to say it. Yes, my line brother worked there, but the only reason I know about UT is because of Coach Pat Summitt. My mom used to watch relentlessly, even though we live in Georgia. My mom used
Yeah.
to watch it and family used to watch it, and that's how I learned about like watching women's basketball, and just
Mm.
seeing what she has done. So for when I seen that you work with her, I was like, dang, that's nothing but a fabric from her. That's a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah.
So it's so cool to see that you're doing the same things. And I want to just tell you that, give you your flowers. Thank you for what you do,
Thank you.
and it will be more young black ladies just like you, going in and killing it, and
Thank
doing amazing things because they're gonna be able to see you. So
you. Yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
thankful where you are, and even when I was reaching out, I know who your brother is, of course, big lineman because I played lineman stuff like that. But I was
Yeah.
like, before I even try to reach out to talk to him, I was like, I gotta talk to his sister because that stuff that she's doing is amazing, man.
Thank you.
And for me, it's not about something I learned. I've been doing this for 5 years. It's not about the name or they famous or this. It's the biggest thing is, hey, what's the story? Like, why did they
Yeah.
do this? And if it wasn't for you doing the things you're doing, I'm just proud of how you lead your family, your brother. I know he's proud to have you as big sister. So
Thank you.
thank
That
you.
means so much. And I think it goes back to what you originally asked me when you said, what's your why? And
Yes.
I think that whether someone wants to get into sport, music, business, whatever, I think they need to really sit down and figure out, what is my why? Why do I do what I do?
Mhm.
Who do I do it for? And what's the impact that I want to have?
That's
I
what's gonna
always
keep
think
you going.
about when people experience me, what I want them to say, what I want people to say about me and rooms that maybe I don't have access to? What do I want my legacy to be when I think about having children? And at some point, when my brother gets married and has children as well, like I just think there's such a greater purpose. And even, it's so funny because prior to moving here, I was terrified to come to New York and was a little nervous about the NFL because I had, outside of interning with the Kansas City Chiefs, I didn't really have NFL experience. And I remember my father just kind of saying, like, what is going on? Why are you not excited? Like, and I said, he was like, why did you take this job if you're nervous to move to New York, nervous about the NFL? I said, I took this job because of my legacy, because at some point, I want to have children. I want to have more mentees and nieces and nephews. And when their aunt is telling them, take the leap of faith, go do it, take the job, make the move, whatever that looks like, I want them to be able to say, you know what? She's speaking out of experience,
Yes.
versus she's telling me to do something that she didn't even have the courage to do.
Mhm.
And so, my life, like I said, has had some highs and lows. Your words mean more than you know and are such a blessing. And like I said, I just want to inspire the next generation, the next Ashley to come behind me and be greater than me.
I love that. I love look, and that's my closing. One of my closing questions. I say, what is the legacy you want to lead? And I love to even frame the question of when it's all said and done, what would you love to be remembered for?
Yeah. I would love to be remembered for the person who saw the people who didn't think that they were seen. I would love to be remembered as someone who was a go-getter and had lofty goals and dreams, but made it happen, but then also reached back and poured into other people to help them do the same. I would want to be remembered as someone who was a woman of faith and didn't just speak on it, but lived that out loud. I would want to be remembered as someone who made my mother proud. And I would want to be remembered as someone who just their vision and just their influence will inspire generations to come.
I love it. Okay. And you're already doing all that.
Thank
Halfway, you're doing it all. And just keep doing it. Keep getting better.
you. I
And
appreciate
keep
that.
striving. Just keep striving. And I'll say, do you happen to have any questions for me?
No, I think the biggest thing is I just thank you for the opportunity to be on the show. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
It's
When
fine.
you reached out, I was just so honored that you would even, want to have me as a guest. So I just really appreciate that.
Indeed, no problem, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll be reaching out to you soon. The episode will be coming out probably in a couple. Actually, I've been having them coming out for a while, so probably in a couple months. But it
Okay.
may come out sooner than later, so I'll let you know.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll be
Thanks so
reaching
much,
out to you
Jeremy. I
soon.
appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you so much.